Talk Radio.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition. Hold on. Alright, let's try that again. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host. I am Clay Douglas. And my guest today is DavidKaas, the author of Farm Physics, and for you folks that have asked about it up on YouTube and all that, the reason I drink my coffee like this in the morning is I am doing something very simple that affects the liquid in my coffee cup here. It makes it taste better. I feel like it keeps me young. It keeps me in good health. I am cancer free, and it was in Venice, California that DavidKaas taught me how to do this. He has the book Farm Physics that is up. You can see a price on it up on my website, freeamerican.com, and we'll put links up. You can get you can call me and order the book, and I'll see that you get it. David, thank you for helping restore my health, I believe.
So Clayton, I'm glad to help you and everyone else in the world as soon as they start to do it for themselves. It's such a simple technique and makes such a world of difference at our age.
Well, it does. And you also wanted to run for president, and perhaps you did, but the problem that we have for making change in this country is that we have basically been taken over, and let me rant on this for a moment, Dave, and kind of set the picture for what we want to do. Actually, before I do that, let me you and I are communicating through Facebook, and you just sent me something I found very interesting. Basically, adapting and using Tesla technology, first time in 100 years that this has been around. A college in California has built an electric bus. Now, this is a pretty big vehicle, folks. It's a bus. It's powered by electricity, and it's wireless, right?
So what they have is, they have the bus stops where they pick up the customers at that has a rechargeable unit sitting at the bus stop that it shoots the electric charge 10 inches, so it doesn't even touch the vehicle, but it recharges the bus when it stops to pick up the customers at a few of these bus stops. So that's how they keep these electric buses running now, and they can run indefinitely. technology
if we hadn't, let me try to point this out to people. If we hadn't been taken over by the financial powers, by the banksters over 100 years ago, we could be running like that right now. They could have, at every red light, they could have these grids.
Well, what this is, Clayton, is just an example to all of us to see just what can be done using this electrical energy. I mean, to run our vehicles, to make our lives easy, to grow our crops. Everything can be done with electrical consideration and made so much easier and work better. But this is just the first of a few different examples around this. But this is really a big one, because people can get on this bus and ride to work and back, and school and back, and everywhere around that town. So it's pretty good breakthrough.
Now, folks, the reason this has happened, the reason we've developed this way, is that somebody found a use for that ugly, slimy substance we call oil, and found a school in California has now demonstrated. Which school is that, David?
I'm not. It was a Utah University.
Utah, okay, that's right.
Developed it, but I'm not exactly sure.
And they did it in with the Utah Transit Authority in Utah. It's Utah State University.
Right.
And the reason this didn't happen 100 years ago, I just went to a Tesla convention over in Albuquerque last year, and nobody had any demonstrable Tesla information there. No magnetic motors, none of the things that we know are possible and have been invented and have been used in different areas. None of this is happening because J.P. Morgan, in conjunction with the Rothschilds, said, "Hey, we can't have this. Where do we put the meter? How do we read the meter? How do we make the money off of this?" And you have been enslaved in an energy-dependent state ever since then.
Yep, that happened.
Hemp and hydrogen was your slogan for president, David. And
yes, it
you
was.
can
Yes,
run.
It was. Free electricity is certainly following. We've got a plan for that. I mean, most people haven't even heard about the plan for the free electricity. But by free, I mean you just turn your car on, turn your radio on, wherever you're at, and you don't need any batteries anymore. Wouldn't that be amazing to have in store for all the people on the planet? But all this is about to happen, and it's like knowing the future, but seeing the present. So such a plight for most folks nowadays. You either put food on the table, or to get the kids educated, or to even buy toilet paper for yourself, and soap. It's getting down there. Everything's been shrinking in size. Right now, Clayton, a loaf of bread at the corner grocery store is $5. $5 for a loaf of 20 slices of bread. It's pretty bad.
And this has all been planned, folks. The depressions are planned by these banksters, by these criminals. And now let me give you something here, David, and then we can are Americans practicing communism? I made the statement that I volunteered to go to Vietnam to fight communists, and when I got out of the army, before I went to Vietnam, fortunately, I realized, I found out that every plank on the Communist Manifesto is intact in America today. Now, I've got that up. I'll link it on the website right under your show. Are Americans practicing communism? Now, Karl Marx describes in his Communist Manifesto the 10 steps necessary to destroy a free enterprise system and replace it with a system of omnipotent government power so as to effect a communist socialist state. These 10 steps are known as the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. The following brief presents the original 10 planks within the Communist Manifesto written by Karl Marx in 1848, along with the American adopted counterpart for each of these planks. From comparison, it's clear most Americans have been by myths, frauds, and deception under the color of the law by their own politicians in both the Republican and Democratic parties have been transformed into communists. Now, Marx is creating the Communist Manifesto, designed these planks as a test to determine whether a society has been communist or not. If they are all in effect enforced, then the people are practicing communism. And remember that Rabbi Weiss referred to the fact some people call it communism, we call it Judaism for the masses. And folks, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which you're not supposed to read because all of your press is controlled by communists. And Rabbi Weiss told us, again, linked on my website, some people call it communism, I call it Judaism for the masses. Now here are the 10 planks stated in the Communist Manifesto. And David, feel free to comment here, you're my guest today. Feel free to comment on any one of these. If I get it wrong, folks, if, you know, maybe, well, let's see, plank number one is abolition of private property and the application of all rents of land to public purposes. Oh!
That don't sound good to me.
Americans do this with actions such as the 14th Amendment of the Constitution and various zoning, school, property taxes, also the Bureau of Land Management. Zoning laws are the first step to government property ownership. That's what they tried to do to me in New Mexico. We're going to zone your farms and ranches. No, you're not. If you zone that, you're going to get somebody killed. No, you're not. And it didn't happen. Second, a heavy progressive or graduated income tax. This is a misapplication of the 16th Amendment of the United States Constitution. On the day the banksters took over, on the year the banksters took over, the 1913 and the Social Security Act of 1936, it's called various state income taxes. We call it paying your fair share. Number 3, abolition of all rights of inheritance. That's Americans call it the federal and state estate tax, or probate laws. Limited inheritance via arbitrary inheritance tax statutes. The confiscation of all the property of all immigrants and rebels. Americans call it government seizures, tax liens, public law 99-570, Executive Order 11490, Section 1205, 1202, which gives private land to the Department of Urban Development. The imprisonment of terrorists or those who speak out or write against the government. That's the 1997 Crime Terrorist Bill, or the IS confiscation. Property without due process. Asset forfeiture laws are used by the DEA, IRS, and ATF. Number 4. That's number 4, folks. That's happening right now. 5, the centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank. Well, we call it the Federal Reserve System. Centralization of the means of communication in the hands of the state. It's the FCC, DOT, mandated through the ICC Act of 1887, Interstate Commerce Section 1938. It's all happening here. You don't have to have a driver's license if you're not in commercial traffic, but they've tricked you just like they have with the, oh, we'll keep all your information on your Social Security card private. And number 7, the extension of factories and instruments of production owned by the state. Well, can you, Americans call it corporate capacity. We've got Department of Agriculture, the IRS, control of business through corporate regulations. And number 8, equal liability of all labor, establishment of industrial armies, especially for agriculture. Americans call it the minimum wage, slave labor, like being dealt dealing with our most favorite trading partner, Communist China. And number 9, the combination of agriculture and manufacturing industries, gradual abolition of the distinction between town and country, a more equitable distribution of population over the country. And this is Archer Daniels, Midland, super corporate farms, Monsanto. And number 10, free education for all children in public schools, abolition of children factory labor in its present form, combination of education with industrial production. You are being taxed to support what we call public food system, but are also actually government force tax funded schools. Even private schools are government regulated, except for the Little Red Schoolhouse and Timothy Bible College. So do changing words change the end result? By using different words, is it all of a sudden okay to ignore or violate the provisions or intent of the Constitution of the United States of America? These politicians who believe in the socialist and communistic concepts, especially those who pass more and more laws implementing these slavery ideas, are traitors to their office and to the Constitution of the United States. Know your enemy. Remove the enemy from within. And actually, folks, this goes back over 200 years, because this communist plan was taken by Karl Marx, a Jew, from the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. It's all documented. This is how we're going to do it. This is how they are doing it. This is how they did it. David, would you care to comment? No, I'm almost through with my rant here.
You actually laid it out real plain and clear, Clayton, to all the listeners out there, exactly what is happening to them right at this moment in time. And it seems to me, because I'm 56 years of age, and I come from the farm in Iowa, that, if we want to jumpstart or restart our economic engine here in this country, we have to get our act together politically and socially speaking, and this will, like I say, affect our economics and everything else and everybody else in the world eventually. But it's going to be a choice, and everybody's going to have to make it. And I thought it was going to be in this last election just a few days ago, but it wasn't. And so I guess I'm kind of going to have to throw my hat in the arena once again in this next election in less than 4 years, and try again, as many of the independent candidates have done for all the time here. I know there's several people that are still running, and my hat's off to them as well.
Now,
but
David, I pointed out to people over the years that there has never been a time in history when it was easy to be free.
Oh, exactly. Well, the nice thing about this last election is there was a party called nationofchange.org is their website, and they had they were registered in the Electoral College, and they left their ticket open. Open meaning that they did not name their candidate, so any candidate that wanted to run on their ticket could, and that's what I did. I selected Jesse Ventura, even though I didn't speak with him on the phone. I shared 2 of my books with him and a lengthy letter of invite a couple of years prior to the election. So I was able to walk the walk and talk the talk on a Nation of Change ticket. And I'd like to thank them for their all their work and diligence in this last election, even though they weren't able to put the candidate, whoever it might have been, into office. I did enjoy running on their ticket. So thank you, Nation of Change, for all you did. But this next election, I think it's going to be a different one than this one was, because I think the information will have gotten to the voting constituents, that being the 19 to 32-year-old age group, Clayton. Those are the ones that are going to make the difference for us if the difference is going to be made.
Well, it's not going to be. It's not going to be into the two parties. The two parties are divided up into the Communist Party and the Fascist Party. The Fascist Party, and there is no difference, folks. This is all misdirection. Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal. It's all misdirection because they control both sides with their media. That's why what we are doing today, right now, today, is the most important thing that you can do. Is to disseminate information. I've read the Communist Manifesto to you. You know you're being poisoned. You can see them there's 10,000 aircraft in the air spraying this country. They're spraying every country in the world because it's a war crime for them not to do it. They have these elitists, the ones that built the underground shelters to protect themselves for what could be and what they may know is coming. That could be an asteroid, it could be a comet, it could be a planet X, it could be just the sun, just a sunspot putting out a field that would kill everything that we've built our whole society around.
Any day, Clayton, anything could happen to this entire planet, or it could happen to any one of us. So, I never in my life really cared too much about the day I die. I'm always getting up every morning and thinking about all the things I've got to do and all the things I want to accomplish. But, life for myself has always been like that, and I've never had a lot, but I've had enough. So I've always been pretty happy, and I've always wanted to get more. You know how it is. The more you get, the more you want. But at this age, as I was saying, my most recent discoveries, which I've written down in the book Farm Physics: A New Cure, which is available through Amazon and PublishAmerica.com. The discoveries I've made concerning the molecular spin of the fluids we drink each day has given me this new life and new energy that I'm really kind of amazed at the age I'm at. But I'd like to ask all the listeners today to pull up the YouTube as soon as the show's over and listen to the video entitled A New Cure for Cancer and Everything Else, because within this video it'll teach you how to apply this new molecular self-spun fluid concept to your own glass of fluid that you're drinking right now.
Let me stress something else. Let me just interrupt you here for a second. I think that's a good idea, because I came up with the idea of Liberty Villages many years ago when I had 5 acres, and I planned it for that. I wanted to do 5 acres with teepees or yurts or cabins so people could live together in a small, tight-knit community, based on the foundation of every civilization, folks. That's the self-sufficient family farm. I reasoned that if we could generate our own electricity and grow our own food, we didn't really need the government. If we kicked out the zoning and the neighborhood association, and we didn't need the government for anything, or for very, very little, except to do what they're supposed to do, and that's guard our borders. We have been taken over by communists. They've had it planned for 200 years. Since we broke away from England, they have had their financial fingers on our pulse and around, and their hands around our necks. Now, on the chat room, they're talking about we're being balkanized. Well, guess what, folks? That's the way we started with the Confederation. With the 13 states. Those 13 states are small countries, and Texas, where I'm at right now, is a whole nother country. We don't have to ask permission to secede. We can just do it. We got over 100,000 people that signed a petition saying we want our independence. The other states don't have to. They can remain part of the Confederation. We can restore this country to the way it was, because, folks, they don't have the power they want you to believe they have. They want you to believe they're omnipotent, and they're not. You can take back this country in small areas, block by block. If you turn your backyard into a garden, my neighbor next door is growing tomatoes and watermelons. You know, my neighbors on the other side have got chickens, so we can get eggs anytime we want. And the neighbor over there has enough arms for the whole neighborhood if we have to defend it or protect it from UN troops. Now, will the militia is you, ladies and gentlemen. Every active male, every active. Go ahead. Go ahead, David.
Well, you're saying, Clayton, we've got to take the power, and the power being just the power to exist, back into our own hands. And you're right, we've got to start setting up these small agricultural gardens all across the country and all the populated areas. But we also have to learn to work together. See, what the problem is nowadays with the communications and everything is they segregated us in our minds. They've got different religious groups, they've got different political groups, they've got different colored groups, they've got different athletic groups. All these things are dividing us.
Divide and conquer is the oldest maxim in warfare. Go back about 4,000 years to Sun Tzu in China. Now, Big Cal on the internet is interjecting. Clay, when half the countries on welfare are on the government dole, it's hard to take back the country with common sense. That's true. That's true. You have to do it locally. You have to start telling people, you know what? We found out that Clay Douglas isn't crazy. No, I don't want a civil I you strange fucker. I don't want a civil war. I want to prevent a civil war, because that's what the government wants. That's what the government wants.
War is bad. War is not good. War is bad.
Now, let me tell you, it's been, again, I've told you folks that the government doesn't have the power they want you to think. Now, they got all the gadgets. They got the little helicopters that can fly in your windows. You know, they got the little bugs. They've got everything. Show your colors. What is a red, white, and blue, you dumb motherfucker?
Clinton, you know what? I think all we would need is our military allegiance. The military of the United States, if it would wake up and those leaders would use their heads, we could get out of this right away. If we had our own military. But if the military is doing what the bad guys say at the moment, our supposed leaders, our Congress, our president, and that's the problem.